So you're thinking about trying a new operating system, and you keep hearing about Ubuntu. But what if I told you it's not just a replacement for what you're used to? What if it's a whole different way of looking at your computer? We're going to dive into the story behind Ubuntu, and it's a story all about freedom, community, and why that actually matters for you today.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big idea that sparked this whole thing. Then we'll see how that idea turned into something real you can actually use. We'll look at how it all works, day to day, talk about what makes it so darn reliable, and wrap up by seeing why Ubuntu is truly a project for everyone.
Okay, before we get into any of the techie stuff, the clicks and the code, we really need to get the why behind Ubuntu. This isn't just about software, it's about a philosophy, a core belief that really shapes everything about it.
You've probably heard this term, free software, thrown around, especially in the Linux world. But what does it actually mean? Because I'll tell you, it's not really about the price.
And there it is. This is the heart of it all. Software freedom means you have the right to run the software, sure, but also to see how it works, to change it if you want, and even to share your changes with others. Think about that for a second. It's the complete opposite of a lockdown system. It means you actually, truly own and control your own computer.
Right, and this is the most important distinction to get. When we talk about free software with Ubuntu, we're talking about freedom of speech, not free beer. The whole point is liberty, your freedom to do what you want with your technology. The fact that it doesn't cost any money? Well, that's just an awesome side effect of that core belief.
So you have this huge idea about freedom and technology. But how do you take something like that and turn it into one of the most popular operating systems on the planet? Well, it's a pretty amazing story.
It all kicked off back in April 2004. A pretty small team, but they had this really clear vision. Let's take all the power and potential of Linux and make it friendly, accessible, and just plain easy for anyone and everyone to use.
Now, they made a really smart move here. Instead of trying to build everything from scratch, which is a massive job, they decided to build Ubuntu on top of Debian. Debian is this incredibly respected, super stable version of Linux. So right from the start, Ubuntu had this rock-solid foundation to build on.
And just look at the speed here. I mean, they went from a website called nonameyet.com to their first public release in just 6 months. That's insane. And then, less than 2 years later, they hit this huge milestone. Their first long-term support version, which we're definitely going to talk more about. The project was just moving at lightning speed.
And people noticed. This was not some quiet little project. Get this, in just the first 2 weeks, the community mailing list exploded with over 3,000 messages. The response was just immediate and huge. It was so clear that people were hungry for an operating system that was both powerful and actually respected their freedom.
And I just love this little tidbit. It really shows you the personality of the project right from day one. The first group of testers called themselves the Sounder, because that's what you call a group of warthogs. It shows that these weren't just users. They were passionate participants who were shaping the whole culture of the project.
That community spirit led to some pretty cool and honestly useful conventions. So let's talk about how the system you actually download and use is organized. Because Ubuntu has this really clear, predictable way of naming its versions that makes life a lot easier. It's a really simple two-part system. The number tells you exactly when it came out. So 4.10, that means 2004, the 10th month, October. Easy. And then each version gets a fun code name that's always an adjective and an animal that start with the same letter. Like that first one, the warty warthog. It's practical and kind of fun at the same time.
Okay, let's get into what is probably one of the most important features of Ubuntu. Especially if you're new and you just want a system that works reliably without you having to constantly mess with it.
This is the LTS, which stands for long-term support. You can think of this as Ubuntu's promise of rock-solid stability. It's a version designed for people who need a dependable system that's going to get security updates for years. It's all about giving you peace of mind.
So this gives you a really clear choice. You can go with the standard releases every 6 months if you want the absolute latest cutting-edge features. Or you can choose the LTS release, which is like a fortress, built for stability and supported for a much, much longer time. Honestly, for most people, and especially for new users, the LTS is absolutely the way to go.
And that first one, Dapper Drake, was such a turning point. It was Ubuntu basically saying, hey, we're not just for hobbyists. We're serious about providing a system you can rely on for important work for years to come. It was a huge statement. All right, let's bring this all home. Let's circle all the way back to that core idea of freedom. How does that philosophy actually translate into making a computer that anyone, anywhere in the world, can pick up and use?
And this is so important. This commitment is not just some bullet point on a marketing page. It is baked right into the DNA of the project. From day one, the goal was to break down barriers. That means making sure you can use Ubuntu in your own language, and it means including tools to help people with disabilities use their computer fully. It's about making tech accessible to everyone.
This is where you see Ubuntu being really smart and practical. Look, some computer parts, like certain Wi-Fi cards or graphics cards, need special software that isn't fully free. So, to make sure your computer just works when you install it, Ubuntu includes this software but keeps it in a separate, restricted area. This gives you the choice. You can use it for convenience, or you can easily remove it if you want to run a system that is 100% free software. You're in control.
So I'll leave you with this thought. What if your next operating system wasn't just a tool to check your email? What if it was a choice? A choice for freedom, a connection to a massive global community, and a vote for making technology accessible to every single person. That right there is the story of Ubuntu. It's not just about what it can do, it's about what it stands for.